the Baltimore Ravens ravened in a way that only the Ravens really can, in a disappointing loss to the Browns, who were one of the league's worst teams, in a game in which, if it could go wrong, it pretty much did. I'm going to get into that and break it down as much as I possibly can here in just a minute. But before I do that, I want to welcome you to the channel. This is your home for all things Baltimore Ravens football. We're trying to hit 2,000 subscribers by the end of the season, so if you could help me do that by smashing that subscribe button, liking the video, I would genuinely appreciate it. The support lately has been crazy good, so thank you all so much who have been tuning in, and welcome if you are new. But enough of that. Look, this game was massively disappointing. And notice I didn't say surprising, because as much as I thought the Ravens would win, could win, should have won, it's not surprising to me in the least that they didn't win, because the Ravens have these games at least, a couple times a year when they play a team in which they should win, and they just absolutely crap down their leg and fall flat. Before I go in on the Ravens here, I have to give credit to the Browns, a team that was dead in the water, sitting 1-6. They lose their quarterback, who has been just god-awful all season, to insert Jameis Winston in. My goodness, the dude looked like a top 15 quarterback in the league, at least. I'm going to get into why I think that is in a minute, but I have to give credit to the Browns, because they came in and played their tail off, and they won the game. So, you know what? Good for the Browns. They've been a laughingstock this entire season, and of course, the Ravens are the team to lose to them. So, whatever. But now that that's out of the way, let's talk about your Baltimore Ravens, our Baltimore Ravens. Gosh, this was painful. First of all, I'll start with the offense, because we're going to get into the defense. That's what everyone's going to be talking about. The Ravens' offensive line, quite frankly, was manhandled by the Browns' D-line. And credit to the Browns' D-line, they have good pass rushers. But that affected the game more than maybe we want to admit, because we're so focused on the defense, and for good reason. But the Browns' defensive line absolutely disrupted things. How many times did Lamar Jackson have to run back 10 yards to get around the pass rush to find a receiver downfield? They messed up the timing of plays. They ended up with 3 sacks. Quite frankly, if it was not Lamar Jackson back there, they easily could have had 4, 5, 6 sacks, maybe more. They were, I think, that good in this game. So absolutely played a factor in this game. Ravens, take notes. That is what a pass rush looks like. You don't. It'd be nice if you didn't always have to rush 5, 6 guys to get pressure on the quarterback. I mean, the Browns certainly didn't. So there is that, which leads right into my next point, and that is the Ravens' pass rush is absolutely putrid. It's disgusting. It's disappointing. Look, that's just the way it is. If I've tried to hold out hope for this defense in this pass rush, and if you're a half glass full type of fan, listen, I respect the heck out of you, and I'm going to try to get back there, and I probably will near the end of the week. Right now, listen, this is just how I'm feeling after the game. The Ravens pass rush was bad again. When they rushed 4, Jameis Winston had all day, all night. He was sitting back there reading some books, calling his mom, calling his girlfriend, whoever, and then finally decided to deliver a pass. So I've harped on the secondary many times this season on this channel. But when you have 4 or 5 seconds to throw the ball, my goodness, someone's going to get open. So the secondary still wasn't good. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. They weren't, but the pass rush absolutely has to be better. Every offseason we hear about Odafe Oweh. Oh, this is his year. He's going to have. Where is he? Where the heck is he? Okay, Ajabu was a healthy scratch. Why? Because he hasn't been performing well. I'm sure Kyle Van Noy is the only guy who seems to generate any pressure off the edge, but he can't be the only freaking one who can get to the quarterback. For goodness sakes, somebody just get to the quarterback. My goodness, it was bad. That was, and what makes it worse, okay, what makes this even more frustrating is the fact that the Browns entered the game with the worst offensive line. How many times did they put the graphic up on the screen that the Browns allowed the most pressures, most sacks, most hits? And then the Ravens come in, and it's like a brand new offensive line, when in reality, the Ravens pass rush looks like I'm trying to get to the quarterback. That's not good. I'm sorry. But the Browns offensive line, I hardly think they just woke up and started playing like 5 Pro Bowlers in front of Jameis Winston. I doubt it. Maybe they did. We'll see. But it's just oddly coincidental that they became really good against a team who struggles to get to the quarterback when they only rush 4. Which, whatever. The secondary, still, yet again, disappointing. Eddie Jackson, I'm sorry, has been one of the biggest disappointments this season. When he was signed this offseason, I was excited about it. I thought he would be able to come in and be a good veteran presence in this locker room, in this secondary. A guy who might be able to come in and take some of the reps that Geno Stone left. Turns out, heck to the no. This guy has been mind-blowing. Not just did he drop 2 interceptions. One of them was in the end zone that turned into a field goal. The other one was their second to last drive, which ended in a touchdown. Went right through his hands. And then he got freaking burnt. Like freaking toast. Against Cedric Tillman. And the game-winning touchdown. One play after Kyle Hamilton also dropped the ball, which probably would have been the game-sealing interception. Probably. It looked like Kyle Hamilton was Jameis Winston's intended target. I don't know. I don't know what the heck's going on with this defense. When you lead the league in dropped interceptions, that's bad. That's awful. I don't know what else to say. The secondary has been not good. And I always get, again, I appreciate the positive outlook from fans. That's what being a fan is about oftentimes. But I've heard the argument several times. Well, they lead the league in tight coverage. Like they play the tightest coverage in the league or up there at the top. That's fine. That's fine. But when you're ranked around 20th is what John Harbaugh said in his press conference today. Would you rank around 20th in contested catches? That doesn't really matter now, does it? Like, you could freaking be tied to the receiver's back, but if you're giving up the catch, ultimately it doesn't matter. And again, we saw the defense several times. One of them, the one in the second half, where the Browns threw the slant, which turned into a touchdown, where the Ravens were not lined up, right? Roquan Smith is yelling it away to get to the other side of the line. Miscommunication, of course, turns into 6 points. This defense is a disaster, okay? In my opinion, and I mean no disrespect when I say this whatsoever, but this is just what my opinion from what I'm watching on Sundays through 8 games, is that Zach Orr is in over his head. That's just what I'm saying. I've heard the other side of the argument of, well, Zach Orr put the guys in the position to make the interceptions, but at the end of the day, the players have to make plays. Fair. 2 things can be true at once. The personnel has been a letdown. They have not performed the way they need to. At the same time, what changed from last season when you went from the best defense in the league to now one of the worst, or maybe the worst passing defense in the National Football League? What changed? I'm not saying the Ravens have to hold everyone to 7 points a game. What I'm saying is you shouldn't rank at the back of the league in passing defense. You should not have all of these miscommunications. You should not have all of these dropped interceptions. It is an all-around disaster so far, from the players to the coaches. Okay? But at the end of the day, Zach Orr is the defensive coordinator, and the buck stops with him and Harbaugh, in my opinion. Harbaugh is the one that decided to hire a guy who with no play calling experience. That is still the most mind-blowing thing. I don't understand. I do not understand. We can blame personnel, but last year's defense, which was the top-ranked defense in the league, you carried most of that defense into this year. Most of it. You lost a few pieces, and they were good players. I'm not going to minimize that. But if you looked at the players you were losing, you would say, well, we're returning the most important pieces of this defense. We're still returning the best part of this defense. What changed is the guy running the show on defense. And they lost some other assistants down the line too, which I'm sure is factoring into this. But I believe that if they hired a guy who was a coordinator before and had that experience and that all that knowledge and wisdom that comes with doing the job, and you're not learning on the fly like Zach Orr is, then things probably would be better right now, because I still believe the Ravens have the skill on the defensive side of the ball to be really good. Not last year's defense, but way better than they are now. You can't convince me otherwise that this defense isn't skilled. It's been absolutely disappointing. And mark my words, right here, right now, this defense, if they do not figure it out sooner than later, are going to cost this team a chance at a championship. Because the offense, we've seen them play really well. But at the end of the day, you're not going to put up 35 points every single game. And at some point, the defense has to make a stop. They just have to. You can't let everybody score 30 on you, can you? I mean, outside of the Bills game, my goodness, this defense, I don't know what to say about it. The Bills game is the one game you can look at and say they played really well in that game. Which, continuing on with the defense, the Browns hadn't scored 20 points in a game all season. Not one time. Put up 29. Should have been 30 if they kicked the PAT. Whatever. 30, 29. Whatever. Jameis Winston rolled out of bed, got up off the couch. Hadn't started a game in, 2 or 3 seasons? I think he's only started 3 games in the last 3 years. Whatever. And the dude looked like freaking a top 15 quarterback. Are you telling me that Jameis Winston is that good? Are you telling me the Browns, who traded away Amari Cooper, their best receiver, all of a sudden they're that good? Come on. Just look, folks, I obviously wish the Ravens won. I was rooting for them. And this may sound strange, but in a sense, besides being a fan and wanting them to win, there's a part of me that's glad that they lost this game. Now, let me explain. Winning hides weaknesses. Winning hides deficiencies. We know this. And so as long as Lamar and Derrick Henry in this offense is putting up 35 points a game, the defense can be lackluster, and people still be like, well, all the Ravens are still good. They're still one of the best teams in the league because Lamar's playing this, that. That's fine. But they just got exposed on the defensive side of the ball when the offense just couldn't get over the hump. The offense was its own separate disappointment. Lamar didn't play his best ball as in the first half. The second half, he played much better. The first half, he just threw some ill-advised throws, I think trying to make something happen. Could have been intercepted, a little risky. The second half, I thought he played much better. Rashad Bateman, again, don't even get me started. Like, what do you do? It smacks you off the face mask. It's the thing with the Ravens is it's like they have games where they just collectively all get the drops at the same time. They have games where they're all on, and then you have other games where nobody can catch the ball. And that was on full display in this game. Let's talk about these little special formations the Ravens keep getting into, just very briefly before I wrap this up. Why are we getting cute on 3rd and 1? When you put Charlie Kohler under center, listen, the Eagles do it with Jalen Hurts. That's fine. It works. It works for them. Great. When you have Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry in the backfield, you can't run some sort of option where the defense has to pick, either commit to Derrick Henry or Lamar Jackson could pull the ball and run. Why are we sticking the 3rd-string tight end under center? If I'm not mistaken, they've done this a couple times this year, and both times ended in a false start. So now you're at 3rd and 6 instead of 3rd and 1. Why are you getting cute? Just freaking line it up and let the defense choose. Do you want to try to stop Derrick Henry, or do you think, or are you going to risk letting Lamar Jackson get around the edge? I don't know why the Ravens try to out-cute themselves. It doesn't make any sense. The Wildcat play, I also don't understand for the exact same reason. You have two of the best ball carriers in the league in the same backfield. So you put Derrick Henry back there, and yes, you look from a numbers perspective, it's not a bad idea. But now the entire defense knows exactly what's going to happen. At least when you have Lamar back there, there's a chance that Lamar could rip the ball out and run. And it might make the defense just a step hesitant to commit. I don't know. Look, the Ravens have all the pieces to be great. I've been saying this all year long. I've tried to be very optimistic with this defense and say that, look, they're going to figure it out. Zach Orr's going to figure it out. They have the personnel to be really good. And I still believe that. Zach Orr, still a giant question mark to me. Like, there's nothing going on here that is instilling that much confidence in me. The fact that the Browns were just awful on offense all year. And the argument's going to be, well, that Jameis Winston came in and it's a different team. Fine. I'm not denying Jameis Winston is a better option at quarterback for the Browns. I think everybody knows that. But my goodness, the offense looked great outside of almost, throwing 3 interceptions that the Ravens all dropped. Like, being toasted again for over 300 yards passing, 3 touchdowns to what was the Browns' third string quarterback. You can argue whether he should have been or shouldn't have been. That's the reality. A guy who hadn't started in 2 or 3 years and went out there and looked like a top 15 quarterback in the league against this defense that yet again let the team down. The offense still put up 24 points against a team that hadn't scored 20 points in a single game all year. And you still lost the game. Look, it is what it is at this point. If the Ravens do not figure it out and they get to the postseason, folks, I'm sorry. Some people are going to say this is being negative. Stop, dude. This is negative. They're going to get it figured out. Fine. Maybe they will. I hope you're right. I certainly do. I'm not rooting against the Ravens, obviously. But just calling it how I really see it, this defense is concerning. If there's one thing the Ravens have been known for since their existence, is defense. And this is honestly an embarrassment to the Ravens. I don't know. They need an edge rusher. They need a pass rusher who can get to the quarterback. That, I think, would help tremendously on this defense. I've said that several times just recently. That is truly what this team needs. Number one, they need several things, but number one, they need a pass rusher, a guy that can go get the quarterback and not let him sit back there for 3, 4, 5 seconds and throw the football. That will help. But they also need a lot of things. I think they need a more veteran defensive coordinator, personally. I hope I'm wrong, and I hope they get it figured out. I hope Zach Orr turns out to be the best defensive coordinator in Ravens history. I don't have any ill will toward the guy, and I certainly don't want to disrespect the man. I wish him nothing but the best. But through 8 games, this unit has been less than impressive. But Ravens Nation, look, this has been an extremely long episode, so if you are still watching at this point, do me a huge favor, like the video, subscribe, comment what your thoughts are about this game. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Where do you think the Ravens need to improve to become a championship caliber team? A championship caliber defense specifically, because offensively, they have the skill to do it. Defensively has been a major letdown so far. So let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments. I appreciate you guys tuning in. And if you're still watching at this point, man, thank you so much. Like I said, like the video, subscribe, comment, and I will see you guys all in the next video. Go Ravens!